Hello, fellow Sagittarius. Welcome to my channel. My name is Adriana, and I am going to be giving you a tarot reading for the month of January. And I did also look up our horoscope reading, and from that, this month is really about focusing. It's about stopping our multitasking and trying to do too many things, putting our foot into too many different slots. So it's about us narrowing down so that we can focus our efforts on what it is that is going to give us the most value in return. Because the horoscope is also talking about money, but I'm getting it's just value in general, not just money. And so I have already pulled the cards because it does take me a while to select them. So I'm trying to think if I should start with the tarot cards. Okay, I'm going to start I'm going to do the tarot cards last. So I have pulled 3 CBT cards because 3 decided to come out. And these are basically just cards that I pulled for how we can change our thinking for this year. For this month. And so what I got is a batch actions. So figuring out ways that we can do more work at once really is what I'm getting. Because if you're anything like me, it's harder to begin doing something than it is to continue. So for example, doing these videos, it's easier for me to continue and do all of them at once or like half of them in a row than it is to take a break and then have to come back and do it later. So that's really what the card is saying, is do more things at once, but you can take that further and figure out ways that you can create less work for yourself, essentially. So that also has to do with the focusing and prioritizing how we want to use our time. So not putting in as much time into work. Because as a fellow Sagittarius, I know that I personally have been struggling with that with the ending of December and the beginning of this month, trying to figure out how to balance my time because I have been putting in way too much energy into work, but yet also work that isn't the most fulfilling and valuable. And so with the start of this new year, I think that all of us need to really figure out what it is that is going to give us the most value in return. And so however you rank your values is going to be what serves you best. So if your situation is calling for you to focus on the monetary value, then go with that. But if that isn't an issue for you right now, perhaps, what is going to give you the most time or is going to be the easiest might be what is the most valuable for you personally. And so just really sit down with that. And, if you have a lot of things that you want to do, something that I personally am trying to get myself to do is list everything that I want to do out. And that way I can visually move it around and rank what order to do things in, and do that based on what is going to be first the easiest to complete so that I can get it done sooner, but also the value. So, whatever's going to be the quickest for you to do and give you the most value, it's going to be the best thing for you to focus on first, right? And with batch actions, also, if you can do work for multiple things at the same time, that's going to also benefit you. So, like if you're doing research for a book, but then you can also do like a course or something that's going to be twice as much work that you're doing at one time. So think about ways that you can do that and to streamline your efforts. And then the other two cards were about you're not the only one. So recognizing that everybody else goes through the same struggles. And I'm also getting to reach out to others. So maybe someone else is doing the same thing that you are doing, and you can ask for advice on how they manage all of that workload, or ways that you can do it easier or quicker. And then also be encouraging is the third card. So with that, it's supporting other people, but it is focusing on how other people are suffering in their own ways. So if you are struggling with something, perhaps, look at someone else's situation, realize that your struggle isn't as bad as you potentially see it in the moment. And then also by reaching out and maybe helping someone else with their struggle, you might receive help in return, or it might just make you feel better about your situation and put you in a better mood. And being in a better mood might help you figure out a way out of whatever your struggle is in the moment. I also pulled a card for what lesson you need to learn this month. And the lesson is look forward. So with that, figuring out, I'm getting your goal. I was going to say you didn't have to look that far ahead. You don't have to plan that far ahead, but maybe some of you really like doing that. And so we figure out if you have a bunch of things that you're trying to do, to spread it out. Allow yourself to, instead of trying to do everything in January, say, okay, well, I'm going to try to do this in January, and I'm going to try to do this in February. But also, don't be too hard on yourself and push that you have to do a bunch of things in January. Like I said, rank them and prioritize on one thing at a time, and then you can work down the list. And also looking forward to how this is going to serve you in the long run, because it's easy to start something and not see any payback on it and think that you're wasting your time. But if you continue to do it, then you might actually get a return, and that return might be bigger than if you do something that's going to give you instant gratification in the moment. So really look at things from a larger point of view, from a long-term point of view, and setting long-term goals rather than a lot of short-term goals. And perhaps figuring out how you can have everything that you do sort of have a theme, almost like a business brand. That way that everything works together and can push you forward with momentum into the future that you want to create. So the next card that I pulled was for what it is that we need to let go of this month for Sagittarius. And the card that we got is denial. I acknowledge my fear, but I replace it with the insight of awareness. So I'm taking that is just, recognizing the places that we have fear and doubts. So this could be with your ability. It could have imposter syndrome coming up. I know that is a thing that comes up for me quite a bit. But with this month, it is a good month to move forward and do new things. And so that is easy to have more fears come up if it's something that you haven't done very much. But the energy of January is really going to push that energy forward, if we can release that fear that is coming up, the fear of success, the fear of failure, the fear of not doing well enough, the fear of putting in and wasting time. And so you look at those fears and think about what it is that is beneath that fear, what is causing it, and see if there's ways that you can counteract it. So if it came up from a certain memory that pops up when you think about that specific worry. So, not just like failure in general, but a failure in a specific area. Say you want to be a writer, but you used to write as growing up, and your parents made comments about your writing, calling it superficial or something. Then you might have a specific fear about your writing being superficial. So look at that and see ways that you can counteract the belief, maybe getting reviews and having specifically asking people if it is superficial, so you can get direct feedback that it is not that. And I am sorry about the noise that you can probably hear. That is my cat trying to get into the room. But you can also, work specifically towards that goal. So think of ways that you can add more depth to what it is that you're writing. So that, and then also, you can look into like meditations that can build your confidence and things like that. And I also pulled a card for what it is that we need to focus on this month. And the card is New Beginnings. Everything in life is constantly vibrating and moving, and therefore continuously changing and evolving. Be aware that a new beginning is on the horizon. Have courage and faith, because right now life is trying to nudge you forward and move you in a new direction. See, we are getting the energy of momentum for this month. It is the time for us to make changes, do new things that we might have been too afraid of to do before. And so what we need to do is focus on that energy and making anew, changing ourselves so that we can live the life that we have always dreamed of and be the person that we have always wanted to be, while leaving our fears and that denial of the fears behind. Because yes, if we have the fear, we have to acknowledge it, because if we don't acknowledge it, then we're always going to hold on to it. So we have to stop denying that those exist. Okay, now on to the actual tarot cards. I pulled 7 of Pentacles, which we have this woman standing there with a basket. And we are that woman, waiting to pick the fruits of our labors. How much have we planted? Have we let it grow full enough? I'm getting that some of you might check on the results of what it is that you've done a lot frequently, and compare from day to day to see if there's any changes, and feel discouraged when something isn't seeming bloomed yet. And it feels like maybe it's not growing at all. But you have to remember that, tree doesn't grow in a day. You have to give things time. And eventually your basket will be overflowing. But right now it might look empty. But that doesn't mean that you haven't done anything or achieved anything, or that nothing will be coming back to you. The other card that I got is the 10 of Wands, which is a man holding a lot of wands. And one of them, well, actually 3, look like they are about to fall out of his arms. So from that, I'm getting, the multitasking, trying to do too much, trying to keep track of too much. And because of the heavy load that you're putting on yourself, it is difficult to move forward with really anything, because you are dropping things behind as you move along, and then you either have to backtrack to pick those up, you leave it behind entirely, and then you have to stop in your tracks when you realize that you have completely lost track of something, and it's going to slow down your movement to hold on to all of that. Whereas if we were just holding on to 1 or 2, you could potentially sprint down the road. So I'm getting put down the load. Perhaps, make a safe space with this analogy, like make a hole and lay down all of the other wands. And then you can always come back and pick those up later, but only carry with you the small load. Don't burden yourself down with thoughts of everything that you need to get done because you have to do X, Y, and Z. I'm laughing because this is definitely for me. But the next card is the 8 of Wands. And with this, again, we have the wands from the last card, and the woman is shooting it into the air. And so I'm just getting that if we aim, then we are more likely to actually hit our target. Do we have all of the wands in the back ready to fire, right? But if we shoot all 8 wands, but we only aim one of them, only the one we are aiming is most likely to hit the target. So slowing down so that we can actually aim one of the wands is better than shooting all of them and then having to go back and, pick up the pieces of our wasted efforts. So really it's just the focusing, and the card that I am the least sure about what is coming through is the 5 of Pentacles. So we have the woman looking like a beggar. What comes to me is about begging. Okay. So I think maybe what this is for is meaning that some of you might be feeling like you are begging the universe to give you the abundance that you desire. Begging for whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish to work. And when it doesn't, then you feel possibly like a victim, or that the universe is ignoring you and that you're being left out to dry. Whereas you might not be putting in all of the effort that you could, or you might just be, spreading yourself out too much. And for some of us, it might be that we're not actually asking. Because in the picture too, right, it is a woman begging, but there's no one there. So she's not actually begging anyone. She's just standing there with her bowl out saying, please give me. It's like you're just standing there being like, to the universe. You have to actually say, can I please have this? I want this. It can be as simple as actually saying that I want it. An acknowledgement. Because sometimes it's easy to want something but not actually put it into words. And sometimes you don't really realize that you haven't done that. But there is power in just saying, I do want this. I am ready for this. Because sometimes that is the most defining factor, is to decide that you are actually ready. And then also that comes down to our denial again. Because if we are denying that we have fears, then we're never going to feel ready, because deep down we are holding on to fear against that. And until we acknowledge it, we can't get rid of it or decide that we are actually ready, because we will just never feel ready. Or you will think that you're ready and the universe will not give it to you yet because you haven't looked at the fear that you're holding on to. Or if it does, then you're going to self-sabotage yourself. So that's why it is that we need to deal with the fears that are holding you back and decide that you are ready to face those fears anyways. And then the universe will provide. And then lastly, I also pulled a rune card. And I don't know how to pronounce runes, so I am sure I'm butchering it. But the card is Aiwas. And this means magic, liberation, rebirth, awakening, and protection. So I think for this, we're getting that it is a, awakening of a new self, an awakening of someone who has a different relationship with their work and their efforts. So I think that January for Sagittarius is really coming down to thought processes when it comes to actually getting work done, and what it is that we decide to do for work. And there's deliberation there. So, this could come about in different ways. So it could mean changing your career. It could mean letting go of things that you have been holding on to. Or it could just be letting go of those fears and doubts, like I've mentioned. So I think for this month, it's just beneficial to sit down and really go inward and think about what it is that is coming up for you. In all areas, all of the negative thoughts that are coming up, and see how you can, awaken to a new self who's not holding on to those, and what it is that you would really want to do in your, ideal existence is the word that's coming. But it, like in an ideal day, your ideal life, what would you be doing? And how do you really want to have abundance come to you? And with that, that is the end of my reading for Sagittarius, and I hope to see you in February.